My guest tonight became a town councillor in Alice Springs in 2015. Last year, she wrote an opinion piece that got a fair bit of attention, opposing calls for the date of Australia Day to be changed. This year, she's lent her voice to Mark Latham's campaign to save Australia Day. Take a look.
Mummy, look what I
made. Have you shown anyone else this, darling?
No, I just made it.
Australia Day is under serious threat. Changing Australia Day doesn't change the lives of Aboriginal people in remote communities. We have to come together as a nation to solve these critical issues and do it proactively. Save Australia Day. It'll be a sad day if we lose it.
Please welcome to the Tonightly Invasion Day special, Jacinta Price, Nampijinpa. Welcome. How did I go? Was that all right?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Jacinta. I really appreciate it very much indeed.
You did all right, but it goes Jacinta Nampijinpa Price.
God damn it! No, I've lost all my woke cred. Oh, what an arse. I apologise. I have to ask you about that ad that you made with Mark Latham. It's a bit shit. I'm sorry, there's no other way to say it. Like, honestly, when I watched it, I'm like, that's close to a sketch we would do on this show to satirise people's hysterical reactions around Australia Day. I'm sorry, like, what is the pitch there? What are your thoughts on that particular ad when you saw it?
I do have to say that my part was the part that you saw.
Yes.
That was my part.
You didn't write it, you didn't film it, you want to distance yourself from all such things.
If we have to do another one next year, I'll be taking full control.
Do you know what I mean, though? Because, like, that to me doesn't serve the argument. Because I see that and I think, well, that's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. So this supposed threat I'm hearing about Australia Day doesn't really exist.
But really, is it that ridiculous? That Orwellian kind of...
That a mother would take a drawing from her child and put it into a paper shredder because they're not allowed to celebrate Australia Day? Yeah, that's ridiculous!
I have heard weirder. No.
And the Greens are installing security cameras everywhere? What do you hear when you put your arguments out that Australia Day should say exactly where it is? What's the response that you hear from people?
Well, I hear from people that, they want to change it.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that they want to change it because they feel like, you know, it hurts them. I don't get that. I don't get that. Maybe that's just me, but I don't get that. I get the idea a celebration is about celebrating, and it's not about celebrating, you know, the deaths of people or the horrible things that have happened in our history. It's about actually looking at where we are as a nation now and going, we're pretty bloody fantastic, actually. We really are. We're a good bunch of people, I truly believe. And I think that's what we need to focus on more so, because it's a celebration.
Why does that celebration have to happen on January 26th?
Because I think it's a really significant date in our history. I think it marks the very beginning for us. And the other argument is that if we don't know our history and that we need to learn it, well, shifting it from that date is disregarding that particular date.
How is it disregarding that? I hear this a little bit, and we've heard it even from the Prime Minister saying people want to change the date, are trying to deny our history. From my point of view, it's almost the exact opposite. It sounds like people who are calling to change the date are looking at the history, the bloody history for Indigenous people. It's not the totality of that history, but particularly when it comes to issues of invasion and genocide and such, which do come up when you talk about Australia's history. They look at that history and they say, we're not denying that, we're acknowledging that, and we say that the date when that started is not an appropriate time to celebrate everything about this country.
Well, so it happened probably every other day of the year because that's what happened within our history. So what I haven't heard yet is an appropriate day for us to celebrate yet, besides the 26th, which is when, in 1949, we became Australian citizens as well as British subjects, and that was everybody. And that's why we have the citizenship ceremony on that day. And for our council in Alice Springs, that is the most popular day for people to become citizens. There's over 300,000 migrants that became citizens on that day. Do we say, righto, sorry guys, but this is no longer, we're not going to share this day with you anymore because we're changing it.
Do you think your position reflects the majority opinion of Indigenous people in Australia?
I can't claim one way or the other. Nobody can claim one way or the other unless, you know, we put it to a postal vote, I guess.
We love them here. We love postal votes. Yes, please.
and spend ridiculous amounts of money. No, I can't say. All I can say is that I speak on behalf of those who do agree with me.
But you've talked about like a silent majority and so on, like within the Indigenous community that you say either don't care about this thing or are happy where Australia Day is, pretty much.
Or they don't want to speak out about it because, like me, who's got a big target on my back now, they'll cop, all sorts.
So, but what do you think about when you hear about things like in 1938 it was declared a day of mourning, there were people protesting this date way back then, the Reconciliation Australia, the Healing Foundation, the National Congress of Australia's First Peoples, Marshall Langton, Warren Mundine. You can kind of pick your poll to suit your needs, as we said before in the show, but there was a poll saying 54% of Indigenous people in favour of change, 50,000 people turning out to protest in Melbourne last year. There is something there, right? That's not just the pursuit of some people.
Definitely in Melbourne and Sydney. Absolutely in Melbourne and Sydney, but there's a whole other, rest of Australia.
What? I've never heard of it.
As well. and like I've mentioned, my family, we had the last sanctioned massacre in 1928. My family were killed. My grandfather was a survivor of that. I heard from my own family members what happened. We had a commemorative ceremony 75 years after it happened, and we invited the descendants of the killers to come to that, to sit with them in an act of true reconciliation and say, we don't blame you for literally what your grandfather did. And the killers, mind you, were Aboriginal as well as white Australians. We've got to remember that our history is complex. It's mixed up.
Did you have a party on that day?
Well, no, we didn't have a party, but we certainly held one another. And my elders cried on the shoulder of the descendant of our killers. But then we smiled. We were smiling at the end of it. We had let go of the grief. We had forgiven and we were smiling, and we want to have another one of those events.
If we don't change the date, do you think anything about Australia Day should change at all? Anything about the way we approach the day?
See, that's what I think should happen. The way we approach the day should be the thing that we change. We take the beginning of the day for those who want to reflect, learn about our country's history. We can all reflect and understand what went on, learn more about it, and then move and progress throughout the day like we've moved and progressed throughout our history to where we are now, where we're a shit-hot nation.
Tomorrow I'm going to an Invasion Day rally to make a funny video.
You funny one?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
You're going to try. That's going to be really interesting.
High five. High five. Thank you very much. Councillor Price, everybody. Thanks for your time.